nutshell, that's pretty much it.
So when you first got in, how long have you been in government for?
Well, 8 years in Congress. I was in our state legislature in Tennessee 16 years, and then I was county mayor for 8 years.
So was it when you got into Congress that you first started getting inside information about what's going on?
Yeah.
So that was that 8 years ago, or like when was that?
Probably 6 years ago, 5 or 6. No, let's see. It was during Trump's first administration, so it would have been about 8 years ago.
And do you remember what it was? Do you remember how you were introduced to it?
Yeah. We just raised total hell about it, and then
why?
Because it's a cover-up. Nobody would give us information.
Well, what made you think it was a cover-up? Why did you think that there was
information? I guess
information?
I just don't trust the government. I've been in government most of my life, and I just don't trust it. I
understand that, but like, was there something that led you to want to pursue this particular subject?
No, just it kind of pursued me. After I did that TMZ interview, people started calling me, and then people would I would get phone calls from people.
Right, but the TMZ interview was fairly recently, right?
No.
No, it wasn't?
That was one that's what started it all. It was 7 or 8 years ago. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't explain that very well.
But you had an interest from the time you were a child, and
Correct.
then getting into government. What was like the first introduction where you had an idea that there's something going on?
When I started asking questions, and we just get to run around.
Like what kind of questions?
Like, what is this? Where are you seeing these things? And we would get people. I had an interesting meeting in my office with some people that were nationally known, and they came by to see me, and they just wanted to talk to me about it. And I was, and they started telling me things, and then I had a group come to my house. I said, y'all just come by the office in D.C. and we'll talk. And they said, we don't feel comfortable doing that. And they came by the house, and they said, can we hook up to your television? And I said, well, sure, and they hooked up the computer to it, and they were showing me objects that were flying at, and granted, I'm not an astrophysicist by any stretch of imagination, but they were showing me things that were flying at speeds that were just that nothing compares. And the angles that they were taking would literally, and I've said this before, and it grosses people out, but it would turn you or me into a ketchup package. I mean, you go this way, and then boom, you're going this way, and we have no capability of any of it. And now I've been briefed so many times on different groups. We scrub missions because these things are out there. And then we tell everybody that's involved to keep your mouth shut. And then if you're a pilot and you come back and say, hey, I've seen this, you immediately pulled off the flight line. I'm not a pilot or military person, but flight line is what I call it. They're not able to fly, and they're given a psych evaluation. And they're given an 8-hour, they call it a debriefing. I've been told by some of the officers that have been involved, it's really just an interrogation. And then you got that hanging on your record. And,
so it influences them to stop asking
they just
questions.
keep their mouth shut. I literally had a guy tell me, Joe, that he said his recorder, it was an older style plane, and I think he said it was close to his right knee. And when he got that on his recorder, he started smashing it with his right knee to discombobulate it, so that it wasn't even, because he didn't want anything. He did not need it. He saw it. He didn't need it on his record. Even if he saw it and it was on a dadgum tape, they drag you in. And so, myself, Luna, and Matt Gaetz went down to Florida to be briefed by. Matt was told that some pilots had seen some things, and they had some photographs. And so we go down there, and again, we go in. I told Matt, I said, Matt, they don't give up this stuff easy. We're going to go down there, and I have a bad feeling they're going to turn us out. Well, we went down there, and Joe, they briefed us on some very, very serious issues that they were dealing with the Chinese and communist infiltration and things going on around Florida in the ocean, but they did never have they wouldn't bring the pilots in. And Matt said, "Hey, I understand all this, but this is not why we came down here." And Matt's you can say what you want to about Matt Gaetz, but he's a great orator and he's a great attorney, and he just started flailing on them. And he told them, he said, "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to jerk me around, And I said, I'm going to subpoena you all. We're going to call you all back to Washington. And I remember looking over in the corner at the suits, and I said, I called them spooks because they were obviously some sort of military intelligence or CIA. And I leaned over to Matt and I said, the spooks are getting nervous, brother, because they were kind of shifting around. And they shut us down. They said, no, we're not going to do it. And Matt said, I'm calling whoever Big Air Force was. Matt was on one of the military committees, and he called. And hour later, they stuck us up in this room and had microphones under the desk. I remember Luna reached under and unplugged them. And they had a nice fruit tray that you paid for it, taxpayers. Thank you very much. So I went into it like a jackass eating sawbriars. I was just eating. I didn't care. And so finally, it came back in an hour, and the guy says, I don't know who you all called, but you're going to get your briefing. They're bringing the pilots in. And literally, they brought these pilots in, and they were in their flight gear, and they had just come out of the planes. And they were the ones, and they described things, and it's been reported now. It's been reported in public, but it was these craft that were hovering for extended periods of times and could shoot straight up at incredible speeds that we don't have capabilities of doing. And those are the kind of thing. And too, this was military people. These were top people. These are like the equivalent, not, they just some of our top people. And I know folks are going to say, well, it's probably the Russians. Well, if it's the Russians, dadgummit, they wouldn't be tied up down in Ukraine for how many years? And Putin's such an egomaniac, he'd fly a saucer to Pennsylvania Avenue, get out and probably wrestle Trump in the front yard or something, bare-chested, ride a unicorn or something, I don't know. If it's China, they'd own us, even more than they already do. And then people say, well, it's ours, Birch. It's just ours. They don't want to release it. Well, think about this. President Trump, and he should have, and I give him great credit for that pilot that got knocked down over in Iran, we spent untold millions of dollars to bring that cat home, and we should have, because it sends a message to our enemies and it sends a message to our fighting men and women that we're not going to leave you behind, as many presidents have done many times. There's no way on God's green earth that they would risk a $500 million aircraft with something flying around it and risk those guys' life and all that training to put these guys in harm's way. And that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, these things are buzzing cockpits. I mean, it's not an everyday occurrence. It's in certain areas, and that's where the deep water thing comes in, the deep water bases. I was sort of misquoted. I was just telling what I was told, and but it makes a lot of sense that these deep water areas are where we see a lot of sightings, and we've seen craft underwater that do something over 200 miles an hour that on the sonar pickup are as big as a dadgum football field. And the best we don't have anything big as a football field, maybe in length, but not underwater anyway. And the best we can do is maybe upper 30 mile an hour, maybe something like that. I don't know, but 200 miles an hour, that's just out of the question. And these things don't have a heat signature, and I hope though that they release some of the footage that we've seen and some that we haven't, that we've been rumored that's out there.